Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Between the Lines. I'm Shauna and Bessie, and I'm here with Tracy Abramson and Esther Hatch and Sarah Eden. And today we are going to be talking about launch teams. Sometimes they're referred to as street teams or scream teams. They're all basically the same thing. And I'm going to begin with a confession, and that is that before I became a writer, I didn't even know these things existed. I didn't know they were a thing. And so I'm guessing that there may be some of you out there listening to us who also don't know what a launch team is. And so maybe we should begin by asking that question. What is a launch team?
I can tackle that, Sean. And I will say I definitely didn't know until I was an author either and probably not until after my first book came out, what a launch team was. So, but now that I do know, I can say I absolutely love my launch team. And so a launch team is typically a group of people who are just extremely excited about your books, and they're gathered together in a team to help launch your book. I kind of see it as sometimes what you have is one large launch team that maybe are people you draw from to maybe make a smaller launch team for a particular book. So when I talk about launch teams, I might be talking about one or the other, because sometimes, you have like a launch team and that can be hundreds of people who are willing to post and all of those things about your books. But also for a specific book, you also will have a smaller team that will get advanced copies of your book so that when your book releases, it can just hit the ground running with reviews already populating on all the review sites, social media, having pictures up and quotes up from your book. So typically, I think when you say a launch team, you're talking about that smaller version. But sometimes I also include everyone who's ever been on one of my launch teams as my launch team, because I still have like a Facebook group with all of them in it and we interact here and there. So,
right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Esther. So why would you say that a launch team is so important to an author? You touched on it a little bit, but do we have some other suggestions on why do you think it's so important?
Well, I think one thing that a launch team does is it broadens the reach of your efforts to get word about your book out, because the people that their reviews reach or their social media posts reach are people that you don't already have those connections to. So they're able to get that word of mouth growing in a way you never could by yourself. And since there are enough of them, it makes it so that everyone's hitting a slightly different group, and all their efforts together create this much bigger umbrella than you ever could without their help.
Right. And it also generates a lot of excitement and energy that a book might not otherwise have, because you can only do so much on your own, but getting other people excited about something can just have a huge impact.
Yeah, for sure. My group is amazing. They do all of those things, plus like kind of anything I ask them. So it's literally like having a team. Like if you're in the boxing ring, it's like your team behind there massaging your shoulders. I'll have things come up where I suddenly need someone to read through a rough draft of my book for one last, well, it's not a rough draft. It's probably like my almost final draft. And I've changed the timeline last minute, and I'll be like, I'm too involved and it'd be hard for me to read through it one more time. And I'll just post on my Scream team, hey, does somebody have time to read a book today? And somebody will do that for me. So, I mean, like there's a lot of, I ask them to do lots of things, like post on social media, share about sales that I have later. Yeah, maybe not even just when the book launches, but maybe a year later, if the book goes on sale, I'll pop back into the Scream team and say, hey, if anybody can post about this, that would be great. And it really does just generate that excitement. It helps get the word out. Because as like Tracy said, as authors, there's only so much we can do. And also there's only so much we want to do of promoting our own books ourselves. Like it feels better coming from someone else sometimes. Right?
Yeah, it really does. And if they're able to let others in their sphere know that a book is coming and that they're excited about it and it's definitely worth watching for and reading, I don't know, it just carries so much more impact than if we were to do it, I think.
Yeah.
So there may be people listening to us right now who think, wow, this might be something that I would really like to do. How does one go about joining a launch team?
I know for me, I typically will make a post somewhere on my social media saying, hey, I'm interested, this application's open. Sarah's really great about, she'll sometimes even give you a warning of like, hey, it's opening at this time and, you can apply. But sometimes if you really love a certain author and you're interested in trying to help support their work, you can always reach out to them and just say, or even check their website. Sometimes there's something there of finding out what their process is. Like Esther, I have a bigger group on Facebook that are people who are more likely to apply for my street teams. And so I always make sure I give an extra post there of like, hey guys, this is opening in case you're interested. And some of them don't have, really much of a reach and they might not do much, but as far as like, they're not going to be a huge influencer or anything like that. But sometimes I'll do giveaways in that group of like, hey, you know what, you guys have been helping me. So I'm just going to randomly draw anyone who's interested for this advanced reader copy or whatever. So it may not be at the same of everyone gets an advanced copy, but at least, they're getting something for that.
Right. So really the best thing for an avid reader to do is to make sure that they're following the social media of the authors that they love. And then when they see those posts go up, it's usually like a Google Doc application, something like that then is submitted. So
I will say I no longer put out I don't put it out on my social media anymore. I only put it out in my larger street team now. So for some authors, you might have to reach out to them and just say, do you have a street team where you put that out? And how do I join that?
So that's the only place I post mine too. Yeah, it's just in the street team group.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good to know. Okay, so I'm guessing that many readers don't realize how much time authors have to invest in marketing their books because, I don't know, before I started this, you just have this idea that all an author does is write a book and send it in and then the magic happens. But there's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes. And unfortunately, for those of us who would rather not be in marketing, a lot of it is marketing. So I imagine that because you've all done this multiple times, that you've gotten to the point where you know what to look for on those applications. You know, the type of qualifications that you need to maximize that street team, launch team effort. So when you're looking through those applications, what do you look for in a street team member?
I know for me, a thing that is very important is how book focused their content already is. Because if they are already posting about books that they love or books they've read and thought were great, if they're already doing that, then that means people are coming to their account or looking to their account for recommendations. They've presented themselves or established themselves as a trusted source for book recommendations and book information and book announcements. So they're likely to have a reach amongst the people I want to reach anyway, people who are actively looking for new books and new recommendations. So that's something I look for. It doesn't mean they have to exclusively post about books, but it should already be part of who they are on social media.
Yeah, and I think one of the first things I look at is whether somebody's content is compatible with my book. And also, do they have a public profile? I always get people applying and I'm like, I would love to have you help me, but the only people, I don't even know who follows you or if anyone besides maybe 6 family members, will see this. So one thing that I think a lot of people do get confused on is they think that a launch team is simply, we give them a free book and they give us a review. And it's like, that's not what this is. This is to help promote the book. Our publisher is going to send things out to professional reviewers and things like that. We hope readers will put in reviews, but if somebody isn't publicly posting in a way that, and again, is the content compatible? If somebody has a bunch of stuff and it could be a great page or whatever, but it's all about horror, but I mostly do suspense. I don't go that direction. And even though it's kind of close, I'm probably going to go something like, oh, maybe that's not quite a right fit. So,
yeah. So I think I'm pretty accepting. And so again, like I said, I have the two groups, right? My big group, I'm pretty accepting if you want to join that and hear of the opportunities to try for the smaller groups that actually get the books. The one thing, I've only had one thing that makes me turn people away from that group, and that is if they have not read my books. Do not try to join an author street team if you have not read their books. If you've heard they're great and you want to join, like, that's not a reason to join. We are actively looking for super fans, right? Like, I don't know if you guys agree, but for me, that's what I'm looking for, is people who really get me, and not everyone does. So if you haven't read my books, you might hate them. Why would I add you to my team? Like, I understand that, like, not everybody, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's how it should be. Everybody's got different tastes. So I will just say, like, definitely look for your authors you absolutely love, that you want to help launch their books, that you will be committed to launching their books because you know you'll love them. You don't want to promote a book you don't love. So I think that's definitely what I'm looking for, is people who really love my books, because it's not worth the price of a free book. Like Tracy said, you're doing a lot more work than putting up a review. And it's a lot easier to just spend the few dollars on an ebook than to do what we might ask you to do on a launch team.
Yeah, that's really true. And going along with that, there are so many people out there who are so much more tech savvy, artistic, all of those good things than I am. And so when I look at how they have promoted other people's work before, there are some people who just have a knack for creating reels or beautiful posts and knowing how to do it in such a way that it's really exciting to see. And so anyone who can help promote my books with those types of media are just wonderful. I think every author out there feels vulnerable when a new book releases. It's like you've created something, it's part of you, and you're just throwing it out there for public criticism. And so the launch team, it's kind of the groundwork. This gives us a feel for how the book will be received in the public, because these are the people who literally read it first. So given that, what would your dream launch team look like? Or what would you most like your launch team members to do when they get that first look at a book? For me,
Yeah,
I feel like the excitement begets excitement. So if it's something that they've been anticipating, if it's something they're so excited to get in their hands and they're willing to post about that excitement, then it's contagious. Other readers get excited too.
Yeah. Along those same lines, I feel like like Esther was saying, on those specific launch teams, like they're specific to a book, it's the smaller group of people. You want them to be genuinely excited about your book, obviously. Also genuinely excited about books, because if they like to read and they like books, they're more likely to get extra excited about a book that they're interested in. But I think one of the things that I have found over the years that is the most helpful for me, the thing that is most likely to see me snatch someone up for future teams, is someone who is both creative in how they promote or post about a book, but also it takes initiative. They're kind of self-driven. Like, I don't have to delineate every single thing that I'd like them to post or do. If they're willing to say, I love this, I'm going to make a mood reel, or I loved this quote, I'm going to create a graphic to post about it, right, or something that they're driven to do. Because like you said, as authors, we spend so much time on things that aren't actually writing, that anything that saves us a little bit of time and mental investment is huge. It's worth so much. So those launch team members that do that are invaluable.
because other people are able to then share them too. So
Yeah,
again, within the
absolutely.
launch team and with us, we get to spread their creative genius, which is great.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're helping them out a little too. Like if they have, Instagram accounts that they're trying to grow, like I definitely see it as like a give and take relationship where I will share their content, especially like Sarah said, when you see somebody do a mood reel or something that's just like took a lot of work, because now that that's part of our jobs as well, we see how much work that is, and we appreciate the people who go above and beyond to spend, sometimes an hour or two to make a video to post online. So my dream team would just be full of like a variety of people. Some people who can do that type of thing. Some people who can post books in a beautiful way that I still have not figured out after 5 years of getting books in the mail. I still cannot take a pretty picture of a book. Others that just know how to find just the right quote to like put up there that is like so intriguing and somehow short. I remember the first time I got asked to send in a quote for my book, I think I sent 2 paragraphs, and my publisher was like, no, I don't think you get what this is. And I still struggle to do that. So I think a variety of people who will post a review on every single review site they can. Everybody has kind of their talents, and if you can take that talent and run with it on the team, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially when they're well balanced, like, it's great to have some people who are fantastic with the visual side of things. Other people write these beautiful reviews that are really going to help a reader know whether or not that book is going to be a good match for them and things like that. But also a lot of our efforts are spent on social media. So it's really important that the team members are creating something fun and unique and basically a place where people want to be hanging out. It's like Bookstagram and places like that. You're hanging out with friends who have common interests, and we want people who are expanding that friendship with others online to create that.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And so let me flip this a little bit, and instead of looking at this from the perspective of you're running a launch team, when you're on social media, just as a person spinning through things, what catches your eye? When you hear of a new book coming out, what kinds of social media posts or information about those books attract your attention the most?
Okay, I have to say, humor normally will get me, but one of my favorite things, and I know it's a book that my name is on the cover of, but it's not me who did it, is when Sarah does her Fiction Kitchen Trio videos. I look forward to those probably more than anyone else. Like, I am always dying.
So fun.
But also, like, and then with other things like the creative photos with the books and the little teaser quotes to just showcase like our characters' personalities, because these characters are real to us by the time the book comes. And so as a reader, if I see somebody who's like can make me feel like, oh my gosh, I'd like to know who that character is, that's going to make me be interested in the book.
Right. Yeah, And for me, I am always amazed when people can do a reel, because I look at Sarah's videos and some of these mood reels that others do, I wouldn't even know how to begin. So I love those.
Yeah. I think of all the things that probably grab my attention the most are probably the teaser quotes, especially if they have like a little humor or they're romantic. And I'm like, oh, I can already see. And it's amazing that a quote can do that. Like I can see the banter going on between the two